Welcome to Muskies on Tap. I am your host, Gus Manti with Suggs Fishing Guide Service. Welcome to the very first episode of Muskies on Tap. I'm really excited to get this running. It's been a work in progress with my two co-hosts, who I will mention here shortly, but I'd like to give you a quick background of myself. I grew up going to the Eagle River area for the past 18 years or so. Parents have had a cabin on the Eagle River chain, and we've always fished multi-species off the dock, off a small boat, just around the lakes there. And then one day caught the first muskie off the dock, which is about where the first 8 or 10 muskies came from, were off the dock on spoons and spinner baits. And the passion just hit right there. I've really been just chasing muskies ever since for many, many years now. It's just been a passion that I've really been trying to perfect over the years, and it probably will never get perfected because muskies are muskies and they're just hard to catch no matter what. And it's a different day every day going muskie fishing, and that's just truly why I love it. You know, it's a super tough fish to go after, and it's always a new game plan every day. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you thinking on what to throw next, the next big bite, all that good stuff. So I love it, and here doing this podcast, hoping to share this passion with all of you. So with me here tonight, I have one of the two co-hosts, and that is none other than my brother Max Manti. If you want to introduce yourself, Max.
Going on tonight, fellas? How we doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
Awesome.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, I am brother to Gus Manti here. A very untraditional sense. Gus kind of taught me everything about musky fishing. Same kind of story though. You know, parents got a place on the Eagle River chain. We were going up there probably for the last, I don't know, 15 odd years. And I guess for me, you know, it really started to snowball like the year before COVID. I moved up there for a summer, spent a lot of time fishing out of our little, what was it, Gus, like a 15-foot Miracraft, 20
Yeah,
horsepower
with the
boat.
20, I think, and we could barely get that thing over 12 miles per hour with three people in it.
I think Dad got us some, is it Compre 7.6s and some Abu Garcia reels. We had a bucket full of Booker tails and giant killers, and decided to try to rip up the chain for a few years. But I think once we started to explore kind of the area, Vilas and Oneida County, if you guys are familiar, there's so many different lakes to choose from. And so I think once we kind of got the ball rolling and got out of our comfort zone, the passion turned into an addiction. I mean, now I'm a corporate dork in Minneapolis working in commercial real estate, but tried my best to get up to the Eagle River area as much as I can. So, I hope to kind of be able to contribute on the times I do get out and fish with Gus, with our other co-host here, Brian. I'll also be uh, a partner to Gus with the PMTT trail and whatnot. So excited to get out and do that. I know this episode we're going to kind of recap the first leg down in Cave Run, which unfortunately Gus had to fish solo, but well, actually not so unfortunately, as you'll hear about. But yeah, that's, I guess, a little bit of kind of my background now, a little bit of how I got into it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the year. Excited to do this podcast. I'm probably not going to be the guy that's giving out majority of the tips and tricks, but excited to chat some muskies every single week. It'll be fun. We pretty much sat down and texted or called every time we do one of our trips, and kind of figured, why the hell not turn it into a podcast and have a few drinks, talk some fishing, and hopefully other people will want to tune in and listen to that. But jury's still out on that, so we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. And without getting too far ahead of ourselves, let's introduce our other co-host tonight, which is none other than Brian Eckel. What's up,
What's
Brian?
going on, everybody? Like these two guys, grew up on a cabin up north. We had a place in Lakewood, Wisconsin, just south of Vilas County, and I primarily grew up fishing bass and pike. And then Gus got me into trout and muskie fishing sort of at the same time as we got into college. So kind of took up the fly fishing game, and then got into muskie fishing pretty heavily with him. And yeah, got pretty brainwashed by both of those, and then primarily now focusing on muskie. Haven't trout fished in a while, but definitely am looking forward to using that fly rod more this year on muskie, and trying to add to that tally. Right now we just have one on the fly, but looking forward to adding more to that. And like Max said, not sure we'll be providing the teaching moments for you guys like Gus will, but we'll be playing devil's advocate for him and trying to pick his brain for you guys.
Hey Brian, real quick for all our lady listeners out there, you want to drop and tell the people where you're living these days, what you do outside of musky fishing?
Yeah, outside of muskie fishing, I'm currently living in Green Bay, Wisconsin. For all you ladies in the area, you can go ahead and hit me up. You know where I'm at. Selling a little bit of medical equipment right now for my job, and then whenever I'm not doing that, trying to find a way to fish, whether it's from shore in the area, going after smallmouth, largemouth, pike, otherwise hiking up north and getting after some toothy critters.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. A common theme from all of us is that we have really become musky nuts over the past couple of years, big time. And that's really the premise of this podcast is for all the musky nuts out there. We're going to be fishing the Eagle River area a lot. Other than that, my brother and I, like he said before, we're going to be doing the Pro Muskie Tournament Trail this year. First time doing it as a trail team. So you can hopefully follow us along on our journey. We'll be giving recaps after each tournament. And like Max said, this first episode is going to be about Cave Run. And super excited to share that story. That was a incredible experience. Currently, I have just gotten back from it only a few hours ago. Some horrible driving conditions back, but made it in one piece, barely. So,
Yeah, no, it was I'm really excited to hear all about the trip. I mean, obviously you filled me in. But before we get into that, do you want to just kind of quickly touch on some of the logistics stuff with this podcast, like what we're actually going to be talking about outside of just the tournament recaps, how often we'll hopefully be posting, I guess just some
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically, we hope to get this out once a week and get it out to you guys very quickly after we make the podcast so that you can all hear a very real-time update on what's going on in the Northwoods. Like I said before, mainly fish violence in Oneida County. I'm going to be guiding, doing Monday Night Musky League with my dad, potentially doing some local tournaments. Not sure yet on that, based on availability and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope you can have a takeaway each week, and I hope this podcast helps some people out there catch some more fish. And it doesn't even matter if you are from that area, even if you just want to hear some hopefully halfway decent tips that we can give you. Um, we'll be sharing tons of stories too. We don't want to keep it just explicitly on musky tips and tricks and all that. So I want to keep the listeners in tune on just what's going on. So
And
Yeah, I
hopefully
mean,
once we get enough listeners, we can fire up some Q&A too and answer some questions and hear some stories from you guys.
I think there's a lot of awesome muskie podcasts already out there that we obviously listen to all the time, like Backlash, Muskie Road Rules, the Muskie Hunks podcast, all that stuff. I think the one of the things that I think might make us a little different, or maybe not, but it'll be more kind of real time updates on what's been going on. So it's going to be a pretty live look in on kind of the journey of what a guide's seeing and whatnot. What types of lakes Gus is fishing, what he's using, stuff like that. So hopefully you can find it beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of our goal and why we're, doing this. So
Yeah, we don't want to hold back. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a point where we can't just say, exact lake names and all that good stuff, but we're going to give out really all that good info that you other musky nuts are going to be looking for. And I know as as one myself, and Max said earlier, we listen to all the other podcasts and love it. And having another one, I hope can't hurt. So
right. Yeah. That's the goal,
we
just
love
an
them all.
addition. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, hey, let's dive into this pretty sweet weekend that you just had. Uh, I guess I'll quickly set the stage. So, first leg, 2023 PMTT, first year doing it as a trail team. Unfortunately, I had to leave you in the dust this weekend and make you go down to Kentucky by yourself, um, attending a bachelor party in Vegas myself. But uh, I'll let Gus kind of start it. So you went down there, first time
Mhm.
ever being in Kentucky. When'd you leave? Who'd you go down there with? Where'd you stay?
Yeah.
Talk about pre-fishing, and then we'll get into the tournament.
Yeah, I know he said I mean I went down solo, but realistically I could not have done this without some help from some buddies, and it's basically who I went down with. Um it is currently May 1st. I want to say I left last week. Hold on, I'm looking at a calendar. Last week on the 25th of April, Tuesday, we left at 6 a.m. sharp. I caravan down with none other than the Barbers, Jeremy and Trevor Barber, a father-son duo that is an absolute deadly duo. They're also part of our team in Monday Night Musky League. And Jeremy, I know you're a good stick, but I think Trevor's got you beat, man. That dude can just fish. He can
Trav's a
straight up
prodigy.
fish. Prodigy in the making. Yeah, he's awesome. And then the other group that I stayed with and caravan down with was Nick Amorose and Clayton Speece, another trail team. They're in Monday Night Muskie League as well on a different team, but that's all right. It's all good, all for good fun, good camaraderie, and those guys are amazing sticks as well. Um,
Yeah, I'd say that they're
yeah,
they're pretty good at fishing.
yeah, I'd say they're pretty good. They were in running for Top Gun. I might get it wrong, 2 years ago, I want to say. I mean, they catch a lot of fish and they do really well in league every single year. So yeah, we drive down. It's a full 12 hours straight shot, but with all our stops, I mean, it was 13 plus on the way down, and the driving down was really not that bad. Pretty smooth sailing, good weather, made good time, and yeah, just spent the first night just unpacking, not doing a whole lot because you know that we were all tired from the day and we weren't going to get up super early on Wednesday to pre-fish anyways. I don't think we got up until around 8:30, 9 a.m. to get out, so we weren't rushing.
Yeah, so first thoughts when you hit the water on Wednesday morning. Like I said, your first time ever fishing in Kentucky. Am I wrong in
Hmm.
saying that it's your first time muskie fishing outside of Wisconsin?
Yeah, you're wrong there.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Oh,
barely.
shit.
Remember,
Okay. All right. Outside of Wisconsin and the UP, is it your first time muskie fishing outside of, I guess, the Midwest?
Hey, you're still wrong
yes,
there. Fished in
correct.
Minnesota with you.
Ah,
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say that. That was a weird send. We sent the Twin Cities one weekend in late November and got our butts handed to us. But that's
I don't think there's any fish
that's
in
an
that
old
state. We're
story.
never going back.
yeah. Well, hopefully that'll change when we go to Vermilion later on here. All right. So
Right.
terrible first question on my part. Let me just kind of restart that. What like when you got out on the water Wednesday morning? Okay, you're in totally unfamiliar territory. You're
Hmm.
musky fishing, and I don't know what do they call it down in Kentucky. They're not like it's like a holler or whatever. You're fishing in a holler
Oh, up in them hollers.
up in them
Yeah.
hollers.
Creek arms and all that stuff. Yeah, it's different fishing, man. I mean, So like I said, I did it solo, but not really at the start. The guys that I went down with, they gave me some good spots to pretty much, or not really spots, but areas of the lake to go check out. And that first day in the water, I knew it was going to be different, but I didn't realize how different it truly was going to be. The clarity apparently was a little bit clearer than normal, which obviously I have no previous knowledge of the lake at all, but it seems like it was around 3 feet clarity and kind of like an off green color, turquoise-ish. It reminded me of when lakes somewhat bloom up in September. But I got out there and I was told that don't be fooled, you're gonna find bait everywhere. You're gonna mark bait in the middle of the lake in super random areas. And it's not that don't trust it, but you're gonna want to find spots that look really good and have bait. So I mean, I rolled out there, dropped into Elfree boat launch every day, and pretty much in between there and the Zilpo flats, I'd always just mark bait. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's out here. I'm not even gonna try it. This is such a big part of the lake.
Can I cut you off
I'm gonna go
quick?
first. What's
I
up?
just want to ask for myself because I have no idea, and for people listening who've never been to cave run, like how big is that lake? And when you like went out to pre-fish, are you just focusing on like a few of the creek arms? Or are you like going out to the main body? And like, what does the whole area look like?
Okay, so from what I know, I believe it's around 8,500 to 9,000 acres, but that can vary a lot. So I don't want to speak any more numbers without knowing for sure because I've heard that that lake can drop and raise up 20 some feet in height. So I was told that it was 2 feet lower than normal. So I'm really not sure what all that means. Clear water, 2 feet lower than normal. In usual situations, on say a river or flowage, that tells me that fishing can be somewhat more difficult. It usually just like for sure a river can like scatter fish. It's not going to concentrate them really in that many areas. And I dropped in and immediately saw 59 to 60-degree water temps. And I was told it's pretty much a post-spawn bite. So everyone was going in like, okay, this is going to be a pretty tough bite. Everyone else had their kind of areas to go to and check, but I pretty much just had to buzz around. I mean, I tried to break it down in sections because as some people know about cave runs, some of those really good spots are on dead opposite ends of the lake.
Hmm.
I don't obviously want to give away too many spots and all that stuff, even though they're super well known and you just look on the map and they're all named. But I tried to start on one end of the lake and just work it slowly and go down to the other end and at least just trying to get some areas in each part of the lake. Looking back, I probably should have really broken it down a little bit smaller than that because I mean, my boat doesn't go 65 like some of the others, but so it takes a good 20 plus minutes to get to the other end, or maybe even longer than that. I never even timed it. But that first day, I spent some time in a few creek arms and areas in the timber because, like I said, I just overheard some people talking that that's probably where they're going to be. And with that, I kind of just went off. I just went off with that and just started pitching around the timber with pretty much every bait category. And that first day, I think other than trolling out on the weed flats around the beach area, I I visually did not see anything. I think I got a glimpse of one in a tiny little cove cut off, but it was so close to the main area. I knew that that spot was going to get hammered, and I didn't feel confident even moving a fish there that I could go back and find it again, which the second day of pre-fishing, I did not find it again. I kind of held that spot off as a very, very last minute just spot to go to during the tournament because if I found one fish in that really small area, there was no
So when you were
reason for me to
fishing,
go and catch it or burn it. So
when you were fishing timber, like pre-fishing, then throughout the tournament, was it mostly like laid down trees offshore, or is this like flooded
mm,
timber that has been at the bottom of the lake forever?
it's it's flooded standing timber, so it's like the old forest that used to be around the old Licking River before it was flooded. And there were some laid down trees and shore, but I think with the 2 feet low, a lot of that good stuff was out of the water. And I could tell looking on shore in some areas that if it was 2 feet higher, there'd actually be some very, very good areas that I'm sure those Kentucky guys know. And they have their, waypoints and all that stuff where they can be like, okay, this area is super good when it's flooded a little bit more because right here, there's just a pile of trees that normally are out of water or something like that. And you can't visually see all that stuff. So that's where it got tough. I don't have any of that previous knowledge. So I had just pretty much went off with go find the trees and find the bait. And I tell you what, the hardest part about that is that I found the trees because they are really easy to find. They're everywhere. And I found the bait. Like I said, it's everywhere. So day one ended, and I have that one glimpse of that one small fish and basically nothing else to show for. Um, yeah, that's the day one of pre-fishing.
I think too, you mentioned like, because I think you're using live scope a little bit to pre-fish, and you
Hmm.
said like there's so much carp and other stuff down there that we're not used to up north. Where
Hmm.
like you'd see stuff on live scope and you'd be like, could be a muskie,
Oh
could
my
be
God.
a carp, could be whatever. And
Yeah, in those 3 days pre-fishing, running live scope, there were so many big red blobs just scattered through those trees, and I would pitch at every single one of them. And I tell you what, not even a single one budged at a lure I tossed, which gave me zero confidence that any of those were muskies. Because usually in past experiences, they will at least come and look at it or something. But I mean, I'm just trying to mark one at this point. I was almost like getting to a desperate point of like, I actually don't care if I burn a fish. I need to catch something to like make sure I know that I'm fishing an area that actually has muskie.
well, and you hadn't,
Because
had a fish on the end of your line since last November. So
yeah,
it's like just,
exactly.
you don't. Well, real quick, not to break this up too much, but like the whole live scope thing was that, did you see people using that pre-fishing? Was it a talk at all about how they're not, not allowed to do it in the tournament this year?
You,
And
you
if you could
know,
use it pre-fishing, but you can't use it in the tournament, was there any
right.
chatter about that down there?
Honestly, I didn't hear a whole lot of chatter about people not digging that change. Um,
I
all the
like it.
guys that I stayed
I think
with,
it's cool.
I think it's cool too. I mean, all the guys that I stayed with used it and we utilized it pre-fishing. And I want to say pretty much every single other boat that I saw pre-fishing had it. So it's really become a thing that kind of everyone has embraced
I really
and
figured this
owned.
year you're going to see it a lot more.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we don't have to get like super deep into the live scope because I know
No, no.
we all have our opinions on it, and I know those opinions can differ, but I really like it for trying to learn spot on spots or bodies of water you've never been to or finding bait fish in open water or something like that because a lot of times in open water or clear situations or something like that, you drive your boat around and you can spook bait fish and they won't even mark on your side imaging or down. But I mean, this is different with cave run. It's such dirty water, even with it being clearer than normal. You could buzz around in those, I'm assuming shad balls. I'll still mark them 2 to 5 feet from my transducer in 30, 40, 50, 60 feet of water. So they don't have any problem of, a boat. So,
All
but
right. Well, so finish up a little bit more of the pre-fishing so we can get into the good stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about pre-fishing because it really ended with not a whole lot. I mean, there's a few things to take away from it. There's a few key things that I kind of remember after just listening to the guys I was staying with, which I don't want to give away too much from them because it's their pre-fishing and all that. But they did well. You know, they're seeing fish. Some were caught by them. Many missed. So that at first was kind of tough for the old confidence level. I mean, I know they've all been there and I haven't, so it's like I can't beat myself up too much for not even, barely sniffing a muskie. But one of those takeaways of the two are the difference between bad trees and good trees that I found out pretty quickly is that there's some areas of just bald trees and they're like the main areas and I see people hammer the crap out of them and it's like I don't know, there's just not as much room for those muskies to hide when it's just a bald standing tree. So, I found more of those really compact, clumped up, branched off trees. That's what really helped. And another thing was to look for was that some of those creek arms held the same water temp of the main lake, I noticed. And some of the people were saying that it's like we were having some pretty good luck when we rolled into a creek arm and that water temp shot up a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to that a little bit more. And I roll into this last one Friday afternoon and I look around it and I'm like, okay, this looks actually very good. I'm just gonna put the live scope in the water, set my side image range to 150 feet each side because I just want to see a big area and I just want to plot it out. I'm not even going to take a cast because it's Friday afternoon before the tournament. At this point, I don't want to burn any fish, even though I got zero confidence of even contacting a fish. And I'm just going to roll around, move the live scope back and forth, and just waypoint every single time I see a good clump of trees and every single time I see high concentrations of bait. So I do this in this area that I was going to fish on Thursday, but it was too packed. And I went and fished a different area pretty close. And I stroll around. I think I do two passes around it, and it was getting really close to the guys packing up, and we had to go to the rules meeting. I'm like, okay, I'll keep down in the table for the tournament, and that pretty much ends pre-fishing right there. I'm saying that with a little bit more confidence, but really at the time I was like, I don't know. This is just gonna be another area that I hit during the tournament. We'll see what happens.
I mean,
What
when
was
I
your
when I when I talked to you, you were pretty dejected.
Yeah, I talked to Max, I talked to some people on the phone, and I pretty much was probably sounding pretty desperate at that time, like, hey, I need help. I was
what
trying to
was
get
your
squeeze every
game
ounce of
plan?
info out of the guys. What's that, Brian?
What was your game plan then? Like right when you get on the water first day, I mean, you didn't have a ton to go off of pre-fishing, so what did you settle on that you figured you'd start
So,
there and see what happens?
so in my head, I didn't have, I kept trying to go through game plans, and what I settled on, which is just where I had this one area marked. I didn't mention it all. And I remember Jeremy telling me, he's like, I've been to this spot before for like 2 years in the past. It looks amazing, but there's just no fish there. And I'm like, that's just so bizarre. And I went there myself. I want to say it was. I never actually confirmed with him. And I marked it all out. There was rocks, weeds, timber, standing timber, creek area next to the main lake. And I fished it and I watched other people fish it and nothing, saw nothing. So I thought about that one. I passed it on the first morning and I'm just like, I can't do it. So I tried to roll into, I know, I tried to roll into the one small area where I saw the one single fish on the very first morning. I'm boat 32, and by the time I got there, it was taken. So that pretty much threw me for a loop on I'm now I almost like panicked. I'm like, this spot. And I just kind of like went into an area where I like barely fished in. And I just started pitching around. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's feels like good weather. I might be able to move one or get one to eat over here on this shoreline area, because I heard other people maybe were doing decent on shoreline areas. And then there was a bass tournament going on the same day, and there's a bass guy right behind me, riding up right behind me, and then there's a dude that just cuts me off from the bass tournament. And I'm like, from past experience, when you're like already frustrated and not liking the spot, just get up and go. There's absolutely no reason to stick
As you got
around.
the double birds up in the air pointed back at him, or was it just a clean
Oh,
departure?
I know. I just gave him it's just the classic stare down.
Yeah,
You
You
didn't
know,
throw a mag dog off the back of the motor.
I've only done that like once, so
yeah.
we fish the chain. I've casted a few people's prop washes.
Up in the jet
Yeah,
ski intake valves.
the dude that freaking went by us going like 10 miles an hour, and we start, yelling at him. He goes, "There's no fish here." This is on the chain, and then you popped one right in his right in his wake.
Yeah. I'm like,
That was
I
hilarious.
mean, I still get pissed now, but I mean this is sidetracked, but honestly, I'm trying to come to terms that it's fine if you get cut off in a body of water like the chain, because those fish are used to it. And honestly, I've heard from other people, it kind of stirs up the spot a little bit. It might get the muskies all riled up, and if you toss a lure in there, he's gonna be like, "Oh, what's that?" and probably chase it. So, especially if it's a really, really good spot. Um, but anyways, I
Saturday
leave that
morning.
area. Yeah, back to cave. I leave that area, and I want to say that was a good 7 to 8 a.m. ish of the tournament, maybe a little bit longer. So I spent a good amount of time kind of hitting the banks and then hitting the deeper edges of those trees and then kind of working the other side, not seeing anything. And I really didn't see that much bait. So that didn't help the confidence either. So after that, I decided to go to that spot that I marked Friday afternoon, and I started casting it. I went all the way around it. I was marking bait, definitely liked the way it looked, and just didn't see anything. And I was trying to not beat myself up too much about it, and I was just like, okay, I'm solo. I keep casting, and every time my bait's out of the water, there's no one else casting, and that means there's no chance of catching a fish. I'm like, do I troll? But then there's only one lure per guy, and I'm not going to troll the timber. It's too dangerous and time consuming, and I'm not going to go troll the beach or the flats because there's just way too many people there. I don't want to do that either. So I decided to jig, and I got a ripping dog out, and I think I jigged for maybe a minute, got snagged, had to unsnag it, bent the hook out. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kind of just like motor out of here and just like regroup. I had a snack. I downed a bunch of water because at this point I probably didn't drink anything or whatever. And I putt back to where I started this area to just do it again, but jig instead. So that time it's 2 hours and no, sorry, 3 hours into the tournament without anything to show for still. And I rig up a tube, and I remember looking back at the footage. I rig up the tube. I kind of walk to the front, put the trolling motor in as I'm just kind of like wind drifting into the spot because I just like shut the motor off really far away. And I drop the tube down. I'm kind of looking at the side image, looking at the down image. I'm like, okay, there's the treetops. I'm just gonna start jigging. It was a little above halfway in the water column, so it really wasn't that far down. and I just get popped in the first 35 seconds of jigging. I mean, I got the footage to show for it. It's no joke, and it hit right at the top of the jig. And in the video, you can see me. I must have just been doing something stupid and trying to like adjust my telescoping rod. And it hit when I was doing that. So I have like a one hand on the jig ripper and the on the other one like really far up next to the first eyelet, and my hook set is just like straight up, like way up in the air. And I'm like, oh crap, I need to start reeling now too. And by the time I was starting to reel,
you gave him the double-handed eye crosser hook set.
oh, it was. It was actually I gave actually a pretty good hook set for how high up I was. And
The adrenaline was going. That fish was pretty much
yeah,
damn near out of the water the second you said it.
yeah, I basically set it and like within a few cranks, that thing is already thrashed on the surface because like I said, I'm not jigging that far down. And that thing immediately starts just gator rolling because I heard from Nick and Clegg that they did well pre-fishing. They're like, dude, these fish down here fight hard and they love to gator roll. And I'm like, sweet, I can't wait. And then it happened, and I'm like, oh my God, they're actually gator rolling, and this is kind of sketchy because every time we've had fish gator roll, it sometimes doesn't end super well. And it's usually big fish in our cases in Wisconsin, but this is just every fish down there, I guess. And I
That's
think I
pretty funny
quickly
that the first two fish this year came when there was a problem with the telescoping rods.
Yeah. Just shows how rusty you can get in 6 months fishing.
yeah, I know it's tough. I So that fish is hooked and gator rolled on the surface, and I quickly run to the front of the boat because I fish out of the back of the boat so I can be near the transducer. They just have the one transom mount transducer, and I run it up to the front because I want to keep a tight line and I don't want to force that fish anywhere it's not going. So I just keep walking with it up the boat, keep the rod tip jammed in the water. I got my thumb ready to free spool, which I don't think I even used on the first fish. And then I work it around the trolling motor, which I was jigging for not even long enough for me to even start using it. So it wasn't on, thankfully. There's no worries there. Got it to the other side. What's up, Max?
Not to be like over dramatic or anything, but when the fish is on, like how are you feeling? Like heart's beating? Do you just like
Oh
is
my
it like
God,
any other fish?
my heart was going crazy because I'm like, oh my God, this just happened. Like I
Yeah.
haven't even snipped
I
a
mean, you've been
muskie
there
in
all
forever.
week, haven't seen one. You drop it down, jigging, no live scope, obviously, and like I mean, probably a good thing I
Right.
wasn't there because I would have been bored senseless trying to jig without live scope. But like,
Yeah, I'm
I
in
just
that
couldn't
same boat.
imagine. Yeah, I just couldn't imagine how you would have been feeling after fishing for what 3.5 days or whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, just like game on.
Yeah, I was shaking, man. My heart was going crazy. I was like fumbling to grab the net because, well, I had it in a good spot, and thankfully there's no lures by it. There's no rod stuck in it, so I was able to get it quickly onto the gunnel of the boat. Because I didn't want to just jab at it immediately. I got to make sure, it's going to come in clean. And at this point, it's gator rolled so much that it's fully wrapped in the line, which sounds bad, but I was actually like really happy because like if it just sits there docile, I can just get the net under it pretty easily. Like, that's clean living for me. And then right when I'm starting to like kind of jab towards it, it ungator rolls, and then all I see is the lure fully
Slack
out and
line.
only like where the one
Oh,
hook was, which is on the side of the face. And I was like, oh my God, did it like unhook from one side or like what just happened? Like one wrong turn and this thing could just fling right off. And it just sat there again and I scooped it and then it went crazy again in the net and I went to grab my pliers and I look and I'm like, holy crap, there's three treble hooks in this thing. And I quickly grab the hook cutters and get it cut and get it out. And I'm like, okay, that thing wasn't going anywhere, but I'm trying to get it out, and I'm like, I think I was like, my knees started shaking because like I'm trying to, like, I could remember this because I'm like, everything in my head, I'm like, holy crap, this just happened. I gotta stop the GoPros to get the footage. I gotta call Tim about the fish to get the fish in. I gotta get the tripod out. I gotta get my phone ready. I gotta get the stickers on the bump board.
Doing a little Irish
All this
jig
is
on the
running through
boat while
my
this
head.
thing's in the net.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm I was like at loss of words. I don't think I said a single word in the footage. I didn't say a single word. I maybe did one fist pump on that first fish, but I just didn't say a single thing. Um,
And it
yeah,
was so how big was the fish? And it was and has I mean I guess I'll just give it away. I mean what was it, like a 35 was
35 and
35
three
and three
quarters.
fourths, yeah, three quarters. And
Yeah, so
I mean
as you
as a
know,
35 ever as a 35 incher ever made you freak out like that? I mean every muskie's great,
I'm
don't get me
I
wrong,
mean
but
every
like a
muskie's
tournament fish just
awesome,
hit they just hit way different. Catching a fish in
way
a
different.
tournament just hits.
I mean, there's plenty of times those 35 inchers are just super fun. They fight really hard and they'll kind of give you a run by the boat or they when they hit boat side because they're so just like spunked up. But this fish was just no, you're right. I've never sh been shaking that hard on a single fish of that caliber. So yeah, and it's cold water. So after I got that measurement and the self film or at least the measurement I could get out of it without pinching the tail, put it back in the net, quickly reviewed my photos and got the good measurement in. I didn't see anything wrong with the blurriness, so I released the fish and that thing just shot out of the cannon back into the water. I didn't even get to hold it or anything or get anything like release footage very much other than like an overhead GoPro because that fish just shot out and sent that in. So that took a while. It felt like I was sitting down for a while and I had to cut hooks and repair the tube. So from catching that fish, I probably didn't fish for another like 15 minutes went by. And in the musky fishing world, that's a long time during a bite window. And and from what I kind of saw, there's a boat near me that was jigging as well, many cast lengths over, and they lost one like 5 minutes after I released that fish. I
Oh
kind of
man.
overheard. So there's definitely a bite window, and I didn't capitalize on a second the first day, but that's all
Yeah.
right.
I mean, so day one's in the books. You bag one, you're feeling great. I think after day one, what, you're in eighth place. There's one team, Rick
There
Nash and his
was,
partner caught three. So,
yeah,
but
Kevin
outside
Nash
of,
and his partner
or,
Jared did really
not Rick
well.
Nash. Isn't Rick Nash the
Rick,
old hockey player, center for the Blue Jackets?
he might be. Hey, that's
Sorry,
all
well,
right.
I got the Devils Rangers game on in the background, so I'm like half musky thinking half hockey.
Yeah, so after first day, I was in eighth place with the 135 and three quarters. There was only 12 fish caught. I actually don't know the exact number on the field, but it was somewhere in the 80-ish boats. So obviously it was not a full field. Not everybody made it down. And but it was only 9 teams. I mean, there wasn't even a 10th place after day one. So even though it was just like one fish, and sometimes in tournaments, catch one fish, feel good, see the leaderboard, and you're like, oh, for real. This one,
Hmm.
I was like, wow, okay, it's game on now. That's a good start. I don't have to be doing that worrying Saturday night going into Sunday. Even if it's just that one, these are great trail points. I'm like with that one fish, I was super happy. I mean, I wouldn't say I was content. Obviously I was hungry for that second one, but yeah, that got me on stage for the first day to just kind of talk about it when Tim calls people up and kind of asks how your day went and all that stuff. He doesn't really harp on people too much in the first day because obviously there's another day fishing and nobody's gonna give away spots, baits, colors, or anything like that. So That was the end of day one.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably one of the cooler techs to wake up to. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, you told me in the morning, like, I hope to wake up to good news. And I sent you that text, and then you answered probably not too much longer. And you're like, I just woke up. Hell yeah.
well,
Let's go.
I mean, we don't probably need to belabor this too much, but yeah, I was still at the, I think blackjack table at the Venetian when I called you and you were getting going at 6.
Yeah, it was 6:30. I had the boat set up, standing in line with the boys and the boats and yelling over the phone like, you guys want black or red?
Oh yeah, I was at the roulette table. I knew it was going to be a
Everyone's
good
like,
day because I think I hit on the next bet. I was like, all right, Gus is going to get one. I'm going to wake up to a text from him and he's going to have a fish in the bag. And sure enough, I rolled over that next morning and saw that you sent a picture. So before I even opened it up, I'm like, well, it's not going to be of the sky. So
right.
I was
Yeah, I
pretty
might send you a
hammed.
picture of like a side image fish, but you're right.
Yeah, so I was pretty fired up and just fist pumping from the hotel room. So yeah, day one in the books. So, like, what are you feeling that night? Like, I know obviously you probably didn't think you could win the thing, but I think a top 5
No,
finish was in your sights.
after seeing the local stick, Nash and Jared with their three fish, one of them being 46 and a half, I was like, oh wow, okay. I mean, I know it's usually like a low fish count in this tournament, but first place solo, not at this point, it's like, a little out of reach. But um, obviously that fish gave me the most confidence I've felt in the entire trip so far. So um, that game plan on day two, which by the way, after I caught that fish, I didn't leave that area at all until the tournament ended on Saturday. So on Sunday, I know that this is a fish reloading spot and there's bait still there. And this is not some tiny little spot where you might have just caught the one fish and you're just hoping for another fish to stroll around. This is like, okay, at any point jigging, I could also just catch a couple or a really big fish. It just felt like one of those spots. So I'm like, I'm solo. I don't want to do this casting thing. I'm just gonna jig the entire time, the exact same spot, because I don't know any other spot in this lake that I got confidence in. I only have confidence in this spot, so I'm gonna be really stubborn and not move at all.
So it was Sunday morning, you got out there, fished the same exact spot, and I guess I'll just let you cap off the story. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, the more the story is just like mind-boggling. It is like the most deja vu story of a fish that I've ever encountered ever. Because obviously, like I said, I just went out to go fish that exact same area and I just kept working over that spot. You know, the tournament starts at 7 and the tournament teams flip. So I went out, well, actually, I went out at the same time because it was, being team 32 is right in the middle of the trail teams. And I was probably jigging by 7:10, maybe 7:15. We're in that ballpark. If anything, 7:20. And I go that first 3 hours without getting a single bite. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this morning major is about to start. I'm gonna do the same thing where I just put out of here, eat a snack, regroup, because I haven't eaten since 5 a.m. and just start jigging again, where it all started yesterday. And I do that and I kind of work in, I get snagged a few times, and then I think it wasn't the same thing where I like just started jigging and get the fish, but I want to say I like just got unsnagged and had to like, resharpen or do something like that and then drop it down and pretty shortly after that get the second fish. Hook the second fish. It hit on the top of the jig. It hit the same tube. It hit 50 feet from the last waypoint of the day before fish. It hit at the exact same time as the fish from the day before. I look back at
Oh,
when I
weird.
took the videos and they're both at 10:19 a.m., which means I probably caught the fish at 10:18.
Somebody's down there ringing the dinner bell at that time every day.
I
What
know
the
it's like a
hell, man?
dinner bell on that spot. Looking back, I probably could have just went and fished that spot for 30 minutes and caught the two fish, but obviously I didn't know this.
Right.
And this fish, like I said, hit at the top of the jig. My hook set probably the same way. I mean, I'm sure I was a little more paying attention, I hope, and it comes up to the surface, looks about the same size, starts gator rolling. I go to the other side of the boat, just like the other one. I get the net out, see gator roll again, and I think this one came in a little bit more clean, and I was shaking just as much. And I think after this one, I think I gave a little more of a fist pump. So, and the story doesn't end there. So when that fish is in the bag, I'm fist pumping. I'm like, yeah, let's go. That fish is huge. And then this other boat that was kind of casting the area around comes up, and I'm like, kind of recognize the boat, and they're like, we were in this spot yesterday when you caught your fish and saw you catch the fish. We're now here in this exact same spot, and we just saw you catch a fish again
At the same time.
the same time. And then I'm like, is this a different fish? Like, is this a different day? You know, like this is wild. I'm like, it was beyond me by the tournament end, like on how that all happened.
That's awesome. And for people that like don't know Gus personally, I mean, you don't really get that jacked up. So to like know that you were fist pumping and talking to yourself, that's not really typical of
No, not exactly
you.
normal. And unfortunately, I was like so worked up on adrenaline and talking to those people by me and getting the bump board ready and the tripod ready again and getting the right colors on the bump board and calling Tim for the fish in. I accidentally stopped the GoPros 15 seconds too late, so they start on the loop like halfway through the fight. So unfortunately, I couldn't look back and see how that fish hit, but I'm almost dead positive it hit at the top rip. I'm not trying to, make the story 100% deja vu, but I'm pretty positive, pretty
All
positive
good,
about
man.
that.
We
Yeah.
we just want to see the difference in celebrations.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that, Sally. Gonna be
Yeah, it was
hilarious.
a fist pump. I had the rod in my hand and
You
I,
scream
I,
and
I
rip your
let out
shirt off.
I mean, not nearly as bad as my stupid celebration from the PMTT last year, where I literally screamed like a freaking 8-year-old.
Yeah, and as he did that, I was like, shh. I had to shush him because there's so many people. It was like polar opposites. I'm all
Yeah.
dead serious, like, hey, we're fishing a tournament. We don't want anybody to know. And you're just like, oh, fish.
Well, I mean, in my defense, it was at the time my PB, and that fight was outrageous. Not that we need to
That
talk
fight
about
was
that
insane.
tournament, but yeah,
One
I
of
mean,
your
it's
one of your few correctly called big fish, big fish.
shut up. Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
that like what I was saying earlier about like tournament fish just hit different. Like, I mean, I'm only speaking from that experience because like that's obviously we fished the one PMTT last year and like the two fish we caught. Um, but like that second one, like when it was on, that adrenaline rush is like nothing you can't like quantify it or like be able
right.
to really tell people about it. Like it's you have to experience it. Like it's a legit adrenaline rush where you're just so nervous, like for whatever reason. I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously the payouts and the PMTT are awesome, and the status and all that stuff is great, and recognition it's cool. But like you still shouldn't be probably as nervous as you are. I mean, I'm sure guys that have fished the trail for a long time probably like flip
They're
them in the
just
net and
stone
they're
cold.
they're stone cold and they're whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just like the coolest feeling. You're just freaking out. Your knees are shaking. It sounds so dumb, but like it's the truth. It's just like it's just a
Yeah,
ridiculous
it's
feeling.
our rush, man. That's why we're musky junkies. This is our adrenaline.
All right, so the second one hits the bag. Like, what's the mental state after that? I mean, you still got a few hours left. Are you thinking like, I mean, yeah, where's your head at? What are you thinking?
I, like I said the day before, I didn't think first place was attainable. You always gotta have goals. And with that being said, I just was like, okay, I think I could probably get second. One more fish. This area is loaded with bait. I'm getting my bait back down there. I'm gonna jig the same lure in the same area. Like I'm really confident for another bite now. Like now this spot isn't just a fluke. Like that fish, it also confirmed like that fish yesterday was not just a fluke. This is like a pretty good spot. Like it's got some fish reloading on it. So I just jig the area again until the tournament ends with just tons of confidence. And I don't get another bite. I think the first day I side imaged 4 to 5 during the tournament, and Sunday I only side imaged like one more. So not as many, but for the people that don't know, the second day's weather was nasty compared to the first day. First day it kind of got up into the 70s, started to get warm. Second day it started out warmer in the morning, but there's rain in and out. The winds really picked up, and the high was only like barely 60. I mean, I kept all my bibs on. I had my sweatshirt on and off every time like a cloud would go over the sun, or because just the temperatures were fluctuating so much, and it just felt like it was going to be a harder bite. I mean, when the tournament was over, there was actually one more fish caught on Sunday than all Saturday, which was pretty surprising. But I just kept jigging it with confidence to hopefully get that second, or I should say third bite of the tournament, second of the day, and it just didn't happen. And by that end, I was already unsnagged probably 15 times with the lure retriever I just bought down there at Crashes, which paid for itself over and over and over again. And I was content with the tournament being over. I was like, all right, I tried the best I could with what I had, and that's all I could ask for.
Max,
You
is
had,
it? I
yeah,
I
go
know
ahead.
you were mad that you couldn't make it down there for the tournament, but does it make it a little bit easier on you knowing that you would have been jigging for 12 hours straight?
Without live scope.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think Max and I have the mental stamina to be able to sit there and jig that long like Gus.
Yeah, and
yeah,
as you guys know, just with like any decision making and sometimes like lake hopping, it's like I can sometimes be that stubborn one where I'm like, nah, we should not move the spot, or nah, we should move the lake or something like that. And
yeah.
it sometimes
Well,
pays off, it sometimes doesn't. It's a tough thing.
I mean, that's why people pay to get in the boat with you, though, and not me, because I know damn sure I don't have the patience to do that. And I mean, I think I probably, it being a tournament, like I always, 98% of the time, I'd say I defer to you on spots and timing and stuff like that. So I would have gone along with it. But yeah, I mean, you probably enjoyed some silence. I don't think I would have been. I mean, after the first 3 hours of
Bit
not
in your
seeing
ear a little
anything,
bit.
you already know I would have been eyeing up
Yeah.
some down trees by the shore and try to break out the
Hey,
bucktails.
don't get me wrong. I mean, I know there's really not much of a bucktail bite down there, but I got on some twitch baits and glides. I guess, I shouldn't say well, I did actually just jig dead straight, but there was, I think, one little point in there. I tossed the glide on shore for about 7 minutes, and it was pretty funny. Those some people must have thought or saw me catch a fish or catch the fish the day before, but they just slid right into where I was and started jigging when I went and casted the glide on shore, which I thought was just classic tournament because I don't know if that, yeah, that was just funny. I'll leave it at that. Oh, before we, I guess, get to more of the end of this podcast, I might as well talk about at least one tip because I felt like most of this was just a story of the whole weekend. But one thing I did find out without using live scope while jigging, which actually just like gave me a lot more confidence, even just jigging in general, is that if you do like to fish out of the back of the boat or you don't, I highly encourage it. You can jig near your transducer, and sometimes you can't always get underneath it for down imaging, which I found very difficult, but you can just get on the side of it and just like a musky follow that you mark on side image, you can mark your bait on the side. And I was kind of like watching every once in a while when I passed through the transducer. I'm like, okay, there's where the bottom was, and then there's where the top is when I'm jigging up. I mean, by the time I was doing it for so long, I was pretty much measuring it with like lifting my rod up out of the water and seeing where the tube was in the water. I'm like, okay, that's about how deep I've been doing this whole time. This should be perfect. But to get dialed in, I use side image to do that, and I just kind of would ease forward into the wind and almost keep my tube or whatever I was jigging or whatever you want to jig towards the back of the boat. And as you're passing through the spot, if you see, for example, like in Cave Run, a tree, you know that you can kind of sweep your rod forward and bring it up more and just like almost carry it over that tree and then start jigging again so that you can keep snag free. I mean, it obviously didn't work every time. I still got snagged 15 times at least, like I said, but it's just a one quick tip to kind of help you build confidence, even if you don't have live scope or whatever, because jigging is definitely a tactic I'd like to use more, 100% in the post turnover time frame of the year, when it can be deadly in deeper water. So yeah, there's your tackle tip for the week.
No doubt. Add that to the arsenal for this year. I think I'm yet to catch one ever jigging. I think I did it a little bit, a few times last summer, but
You can take what you want from that. I mean, I haven't still caught that many jigging, but those two from this tournament have really given me confidence to do it a lot more because
I
those
think I
no
hits
doubt.
can
are fun.
I think I can count on my fingers how many minutes I've jigged, so I might have to start giving it some more attention this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the most practical. I jig for 12 hours straight for 2 bites, but
I'm a
it is
big
what it
cover
is.
water guy, slamming shoreline, get that reactionary finesse bite.
Yeah,
Well,
we know that,
worked
Brian.
it worked out for you, so can't disagree with your tactics for this time. And I think what I'm most impressed with is like the fact that you figured something out during the tournament, or is able to stick two fish. You're fishing solo. You take a top five at a lake you've never been. Not to pump your tires too much here, but that's pretty sweet, man. It really is like pretty
Yeah, I think
cool.
that the craziest part too that like,
Appreciate it.
people be like, oh, he won it or not won it, but he plays solo. But I think not having that second bait out there, there's so many times you cast near a fish and not close enough to it and they don't react. They might see if they don't do anything. It just helps so much to have that second or third fisherman on the boat with you to be able to, get follows and figure out where these fish are and what they're reacting to.
Hmm.
And without that, I feel like you can feel like you're lost pretty quickly. So
Yeah, I
good
mean,
stuff.
it pretty much just felt like I could find it would have to take, double the amount of time to find a pattern without, more fishermen, at least one or two, in any normal day, not even just tournament fishing, but any normal day of just like solo fishing, it's just that much harder to kind of dial in. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. I was uh I was thrilled to be a part of that.
All
Would you
right,
do it
so
again?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
what?
Next year, we're bringing Max down. He's gonna step foot on Mars and look at that lake, be like, "What? There's muskies in here? There's
But
no way."
I think so. I mean, from that tournament though, I think the cool thing about you going down there, crushing it solo, like huge for me too, because now I think it's a guarantee. I don't really know, but we get to fish in the world championship on the chip. which was kind of our main goal going into the trail. Brian's fist pumping in the back. He's gonna take off work, come down there with us for a few days. But I mean,
For
like
sure.
our whole goal was like, okay, between
Yeah.
Cave, Madison, Vermilion, like first year doing the trail, I think a reasonable goal for us would be make it to the championship, have a chance at, the big prize or whatever, Top Gun team, all that good stuff. Like that was kind of our goals, like just to get there. But now it's
Right.
almost like the expectations might have to shift a little bit because you go down there, you snag a top five, fourth place finish. You're kind of I think from what I've been understanding, you're a lock to get we're a lock to get to the championship now, which is super
Yep. I
cool.
mean, we obviously can't like fully confirm it for a while, but you are correct. I think,
I'm getting ahead of my skis here a little bit.
from yeah, maybe a little bit, just but from what history is told, it does it the fourth place doesn't hurt. That's for sure.
It makes me more excited about the next two tournaments. Like I feel like the
Yeah, oh
pressure might be
yeah,
off a little bit, and just kind of it's cool. Like
for
we're
sure. I mean, yeah, we're going to fish Madison and Vermilion, just two totally brand new fisheries to us. We've never been to either one, and they're kind of, completely, pretty much all three of the legs this year are just completely different musky water. Totally
Mhm.
different. Every single one is different forage. I mean, you got shad, Madison chain is, from my understanding, panfish, and then you go up to Vermilion and they got everything, you know. Obviously, other than
Mhm.
shad, they got the big whitefish and yeah, bass, walleyes, panfish, pike, you name it. So,
Well, it sounded like kind of going through and looking. I was obviously watching the live of the results and whatnot, and it looked like the Eagle River boys held their own down
oh
there.
yeah, I can't. That's right. The Blickards, another father-son duo of Eagle River, Pete and Chris, they bagged a big one
You
on
saying
Sunday.
another father son duo? My dad now?
Oh
You're getting
no.
up there.
No, I was saying that because of,
Easy,
Trevor and
buddy.
Jeremy, but
Oh yeah,
but yeah, they bagged a big one on Sunday, which gave them big fish of the tournament and put them at fifth, which is super cool. So yeah, Eagle River boys were representing and oh, can't forget Clay stuck one on Sunday as well, so that Nick and Clay's team got those cave run points, which, like I said before, history shows that those fish really matter. Even if you just catch one fish, that those points mean a lot more than, say, if you catch one fish at a tournament where 60 fish are caught. There's only 25 fish
right.
caught. So
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad, and I'm sure I got big hopes for Trev this year. Trev and Jeremy.
me too.
I think Trev's gonna stick a giant at either Madison or Vermilion. So another picture of Trev holding up a 4-footer and
Just a massive fish again. Every year that kid just pulls in a huge fish. It's awesome.
that's good stuff. Well, I'm glad the Northern Wisco could represent properly down there. I think sometimes we get a little bit of a rep that all we can do is chuck bucktails at weed beds. So it's good to know that we're a little bit more diversified.
Raising that finesse
Rex
level,
said.
letting everybody know.
It's good stuff. All
All
right.
right,
Well, I mean,
gents.
we talked a lot. I guess. I mean, head into next week. What do we got on deck?
On deck, I don't know, can't give too much away, but we got some good spring fishing talk, some fishing that we have already been kind of up to. And that's going to be really exciting to share. I got some stuff up my sleeve to present to the muskie world a little bit, and I think it's going to be exciting stuff. So more news.
Wow, what a
Stay
teaser!
tuned.
What a teaser!
Yeah,
This
I
guy's been
Listening
saving
know.
this for
ear,
a
damn.
while.
Hey man, I just, want to keep
Yeah,
the people on their toes,
you
you
gotta get him
know?
coming back. Wow, that's
Right.
good stuff. So when do you officially move up to Eagle River? I know you're living in Appleton right now. When do you make the move?
the move is happening in the next, week and a half or so. And I think it'll be official by like May 15th or something like that. So that I am beyond stoked about. So I can really just hone in completely on my fishing. I mean, either way, in the past, I'd always just fish constantly when I'm up north, but now I'll be living up north, so that's going to be what I'm going to be doing is fishing as much as possible when I can.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to book a trip?
Yeah, so at the moment, there's a website in the making, but it is not complete, so I don't want to give that out yet. But a super easy way to get a hold of me, as always, is just my cell phone number via text, phone call. If I don't answer, don't be afraid to leave a voicemail. You can reach me at 920-264-3816. You can also find me on Facebook just as Gus Manti or Suggs Fishing Guide Service, and on Instagram as Suggs Fishing, and on TikTok as I want to say also Suggs Fishing,
Gen
Well,
Z.
which I always
Gen Z. Yeah,
Sorry?
they're about to ban that. TikTok's about
No
to get the
way.
boot. Yeah.
That's all good. It's one less platform to post.
You want to talk
And
about
then
a
there's
YouTube channel at all that we might
yeah, I was
do
just
if
about to
whatever?
say, yeah, a YouTube channel in the making. So I'll give you guys a little rundown of, what's in the making. And it's gonna be as put it out pretty much as you guys know, I'm a turtle when it comes to all this editing and getting all this stuff done because it's
Oh,
still new to
really?
me. I'm yeah, right. Shocker to you guys, but I'm
Oh,
still new to
really?
this editing stuff, man. And really hoping to kind of do a little mini series on the PMTT, as much of a video as I can get out of it. And then I'd really like to kind of present Monday Night Musky League because I just think that's a really cool thing that that Dad and I are doing this year. Again, we've done it the last 2 years. I'm super excited to share that.
You gotta defend
And
this
then here and
year.
there,
You gotta
what's
defend the
that?
title. You gotta defend the title this year.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The Manti boys, you, Max, me, Dad, we all contributed last year. Obviously, Trevor did. He got a big fish, shocker. Jeremy as well. And then I can't forget about Lunker Lou.
Another stick.
When
Lunker,
Trevor
Lunker
sticks
Lou
a
and his
big
partner
one,
Kevin.
Trev sticks a big one of these upcoming tournaments this year. We're gonna have to have him as a special guest, get his side of the story.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to get Trevor on one of these days.
Yeah. I mean, I hope people listen to this, although, being our first episode,
You
highly
never know,
doubtful,
yeah.
but people want to reach out and come on and talk any fishing stories or whatever, reach out to Gus. He just dropped his contact info. We'd love to have people on chat Muskies. I think it would be probably a cool element. But yeah, I'm excited for
Sure,
the
yeah.
summer. I think we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff to put out there to the public and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm super excited for all that. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of Muskies on Tap. And there's going to be tons of info, more to come in the future. So, as always, stay tuned and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, see you fellas.
Peace.